Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/am I the asshole for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my thoughts and opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Careful Stan 415. Am I the asshole for telling my husband I don't want him spending so much time with his friend anymore? I, 40 female, have been married to my husband, 40 male, for 12 years. We have 2 kids, ages 8 and 18. And overall, our family life is pretty great. However, there's one issue that's been bothering me for a while now, and I only recently expressed it to my husband. My husband's friend, Mark, recently moved to our city and lives nearby. They probably haven't seen each other in almost a decade. They were close friends in college, but after graduating, they went their separate ways and didn't speak much. I've only recently gotten to know Mark, and I've only met him a few times with my husband. Here's the best way I can describe Mark. He's the same age as us, but acts as if he's still in college. He's loud, brash, and has this "I'm living the dream" attitude. That's way too self-absorbed for my liking. He works in finance and is financially successful, which he loves to remind everyone about. He drives a flashy car, wears expensive clothes, and assumes he's what everyone dreams to be. Essentially, he's like a finance bro, who's freshly graduated college, except 40 years old. Another thing is, he's been divorced twice. Not that going through a divorce is an issue. According to Mark, both marriages ended because of irreconcilable differences. But honestly, it feels like Mark just doesn't take relationships seriously. Mark has kids as well, son and a daughter. He talks about his daughter a lot, but it's mostly complaints about how she's becoming more like her mom, his ex-wife. He says it in a way that makes it sound like a bad thing, as if the mom has somehow ruined her. Mark has never disrespected me directly. He barely spoke to me. But it's the overall vibe he gives that bothers me. My husband's behavior hasn't changed since meeting him, but a lot of the times when my husband comes home, he has this carefree attitude, as if Mark has brought the youth out of him. Sometimes I feel like it's a version of him that I've never met. There's no issue doing this once in a while, but my husband meets Mark easily 3 to 4 times a month. Eventually, I expressed my concern to my husband. I told him I really don't like how often they go out drinking, and that Mark seems very immature. I just don't want my husband picking up traits from him. My husband responded by saying how he also doesn't like my friend Claire, but doesn't complain about me hanging out with her. Apart from Claire being blunt and opinionated, she isn't a bad influence and is also married with 3 kids. I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to control who my husband hangs out with, but his friend Mark is just not a good influence at all. What are you, his mom? Like, to me, it sounds like you just said that it bothers you that he's coming home happy, that he's coming home more youthful and more energetic, with a carefree attitude. Unless this carefree attitude is directly leading him to neglect the responsibilities as a father or mistreat you, then it shouldn't be a problem. Which I know that's not the case because you would have mentioned it directly. OP would have directly stated how this carefree attitude is negatively affecting the house. But instead, it really does seem to be cut off at the fact that the youth is being brought out of him, and it's a version that she's never met. Oh shit, wait, is she jealous? Like, is she uncomfortable with the fact that there's a version of her husband that was, like, super happy, young and youthful, that's just, like, actually just vibing and having a good time, that isn't a direct cause from her, and that's why she's upset with the fact that Mark is around, because her husband is, like, actually just vibing and having a good time? And it's... Wait, hold up. Is that what's going on here? Did I just stumble upon that by accident? Like, is OP jealous that her husband has someone in his life that actually makes him, like, happy and relaxed? I'm not trying to control who he hangs out with, but I don't like the fact that he comes home happy. That's unacceptable. And how dare they hang out once a week? Like, if Mark was mistreating you, this would be a different story in its entirety. But he doesn't seem to even notice you. And you have nothing bad to say about him except for calling him immature and that he drives fancy, flashy cars. Your husband is healthier with Mark around. Mental health is a major part of just the life experience and your day-to-day quality of life. And if he's actually happy and feeling more youthful, that's not just a good thing. That's a great thing. Let your husband have that. Also, by the way, husband's comparison to Claire, 100% valid. I would have also loved some further explanations on how Claire is opinionated and blunt. Not your spud. Am I the asshole for neutering my cousin's dog? My cousin decided to breed Dobermans, so first he got a male. Let's call him Red. And since they didn't really have a space to leave the dog, my grandparents let the dog stay in their house as a scary-looking guard dog. Later, he was also gifted a female, Blackie. At this point, he had more responsibilities because his dad, my uncle, just died, and his sister was unemployed and has a baby. Well, 2 babies, if you count the deadbeat baby daddy. So, anyway, when we would visit, we noticed that Blackie, especially, had patches missing and had ticks. Red was always thin, but started leaning towards starved. But I didn't interfere since there were some open packages of treatments, so maybe he was doing his best. And large dogs cost more upkeep. Around a year later, he sells Blackie only, so I take her back. When I finally get to seeing her again, she was in pretty bad shape from neglect. I doubt they were even brought to the vet. So, under my care, I made sure she got to have a good bill of health. And on one of our walks, she beelines to where Red is caged. He didn't look too dirty, but Red did look like he was being left in the cage most of the time. I couldn't just let him out, so I would sneak him some treats. This went on for a couple of weeks. And then, all of a sudden, Red just gets dropped off at the house. Honestly, I didn't mind, because we would have willingly fed him too. But the more days passed, the more it seemed like they had abandoned Red there. They never visit him. They don't give food or anything. So I took care of him too. No question. He was admittedly in worse shape than Blackie, because he just seemed to check out and would rather sleep most of the time. So I took a lot of time trying to rehabilitate both of them into playful, happy dogs. But then, the inevitable happened. Blackie started going into heat, and despite Red not getting her pregnant before, he seemed very interested in only humping her all of a sudden. And I was not about to raise or sell a bunch of puppies. This is where I might be the asshole. I told my family I didn't want Blackie to get pregnant, so I'm having Red neutered immediately. They reminded me that Blackie is my dog officially, but not Red. For all we knew, my cousin could still use him as a stud to supplement his income, if he comes back for him. So I begrudgingly sent a message to my cousin. I didn't ask permission to neuter Red. I just told him that I can't have Blackie have puppies right now, so I was going to neuter. I didn't want to push for him to take Red again because he would just be caged up. He didn't respond. But I went with it anyway. To me, I've already taken care of him for weeks, so he's essentially mine. I would rather just say sorry for his lost income rather than risk the unwanted pregnancy. My family seems disappointed because my cousin's family would really need the money if they decided to stud or sell him, and reiterates that what I did isn't right by my cousin. So, am I the asshole? Edit, Blackie was unhealthy and needed shots and treatments before getting spayed. It's more irresponsible to make an unhealthy dog go through non-emergency surgery. I wasn't rushing the spay because she wasn't sharing space with a male dog before Red got abandoned. I only had Blackie a couple months, and by the time Red came, she was still recovering from infections. Update, already booked a spay appointment with the vet. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, neutered your dog, because honestly, in my opinion, the moment that a neglected dog was dropped on your doorstep with no kind of communication or any indication they intended to come back for the dog, that's now your dog. You told them that you were planning on neutering him, no response. If he actually cared, the moment he got that text message, he would have swooped in and taken Red from you. But he didn't. Because in my opinion, he had no intention of coming back for the dog. Not to mention, right now my Google search has a fucked up search query of when does a dog become abandoned property? And it seems to vastly depend, some being just a few days, some being 2 weeks, some being like a month. So if you've been watching Red for 2 weeks, and your cousin has made no attempt or communication that he wanted Red back, that's your dog. Those dogs were abandoned, neglected, and not given any care. They were sick and by the sounds of it, malnourished, stressed out, and God knows what other ailments they were suffering from. You took in one, took care of them, and you found the other one dropped on your doorstep with no kind of indication of why. So here we are. You have 2 dogs that are leading happy and healthy lives, and your cousin has made no indication he wants them back. They're your dogs. And the idea that someone would want to buy a weak, neglected, and sick stud is laughable. If they do try to sue you for lost income, hit them with the vet bills. It's just gross. Voltaire. Am I the asshole for calling out my coworker who jumped the microwave queue? I work in a pretty large office, but in our particular section, we've got 1 microwave. 1. Naturally, there's a bit of a lunch rush, and you sometimes have to wait your turn. Anyway, I was heating up my lunch, and when the microwave beeped, I pulled it out to give it a stir. You know, the cold in the middle struggle. I always pop it back in for another minute just to finish it off. But the moment I took it out to stir, this guy swoops in from the side, whacks his container in, and starts heating his food. For 4 minutes. Didn't ask, didn't check, just claimed the microwave. Now, I don't think I've seen him before, pretty sure he's a new starter, but still, microwave etiquette is not exactly niche. I stood there, waiting, fuming, and when his 4 minutes were up and he took his food out, I said, "Great, thanks, I can finish heating my lunch now that you're done." He just looked at the ground and slinked off. I figured that was the end of it, but later his manager actually came up to me and said I should be nicer and that I'd hurt his feelings. Apparently he felt really bad and embarrassed. I didn't insult him, I just called out the behavior, but now I'm being told I made someone feel bad at their new job. So am I the asshole? I actually understand and agree with the everyone sucks here, because the reason why OP sucks is that they were heating up their food, they took it out, someone took the microwave, and for 4 minutes, they didn't say anything, they let the issue compound, they waited the full time, and then, only then, once the food was done, they finally said something. If they had just opened it up with, "Hey, I'm not quite done with the microwave, I'm just stirring my food real quick," this entire situation could have been avoided. The guy still sucks for just simply barging in and quickly swooping his food in and not saying anything. But by his reaction, it is pretty clear that if OP had just said something, that none of this had to have happened, and he probably would have felt bad, potentially embarrassed, but he probably would have taken his food out and given you the time you needed to finish the microwaving process. Like, do not get it twisted. I still think the coworker is definitely the asshole for just rushing in and slamming his food in the microwave without asking for any kind of clarification if OP was done. But I also think OP's a bit of an asshole for just sitting there for 4 minutes and not saying anything. And then only making a comment, a passive-aggressive one at that, when he took his food out of the microwave. So because of this, I'm inclined to agree with the everyone sucks category. Posted by a now deleted user. Am I the asshole? My husband will invite his family and friends over without telling me until that day. He then expects me to clean, run to the store, and prep/cook everything. I finally just decided to leave the house the last time he told me because I only had 4 hours till their arrival. He canceled. The thing is, his family is constantly judging and talking about each other. So when he says, "It doesn't matter, they don't care," I know, and he knows, he's full of it. Also, it's not just tidying the house. We're not regularly stocked in food or drinks to have people over. When I got home, I asked what he was planning on having for dinner, and he responded, "I don't know. I guess it's good that they aren't coming over anymore." Now he's sulking, saying I'm the problem because I can't go with the flow. I've told him multiple times I just need a couple of days' notice to get things in order. But he insists I'm just difficult, uptight, and uncooperative. Am I the asshole? If he's not giving you any kind of notice beyond the day of that you have company coming over, and doesn't help with the cleaning, doesn't help with the prep, doesn't help with groceries or anything, no, you're not the asshole for just simply saying fuck it and walking away when given 4 hours to prepare the entire home, kitchen, and anything else for company coming over. Especially if they're apparently judgmental and will judge anything that's wrong or out of place within the house. In addition, there is a lot of the context inside the title, it seems, but what I want to add is that if his response to you not wanting to do any of the prep work for his family, and instead he just goes right for canceling the event instead and now holds it over your head of, yeah, they're never coming over ever again because you didn't want to do the prep work or clean. That's unacceptable. Because that tells me he understands that the amount of work you have to do to prepare for them coming over is a lot, but he has no intention of helping with it, or has no intention of actually participating with getting things set up. He just expects you to do it all, and when you're not there to do it, the things that don't matter and they don't care suddenly do matter, and they do care. And now they're no longer coming over because you weren't the one to just simply bend over backwards, get all the cleaning done, and do all the prep work and run to the store and everything else that was needed to be done. So yeah, not the asshole. Posted by CutiePatui27. Am I the asshole for sneaking out and causing my sister to lose her job? My sister is 33, female, and I'm 14, female. She had a baby 3 months ago. I just got out of school for the summer and really wanted to rest, but my sister decided she wants to finally get a job. Now she's making me babysit my niece. I have zero experience with babies, and I get overstimulated easily. It's been really hard for me. I asked her if she could put the baby in daycare or something, but she refused. I decided to just suck it up, but it's been exhausting. I have insomnia, and it's hard to sleep when I feel like I need to be awake 24/7 to watch the baby. I'm constantly scared something might happen if I fall asleep. I told my mom how I felt, but she said I'd just have to deal with it. Both my parents work, so I'm left alone with the baby for hours almost every day. A few days ago, I got tired of everything. The night before my sister got ready for work, I snuck out and went to my friend's house so I wouldn't have to deal with it and could finally get some sleep. When I came home that morning after, I saw all the missed calls and messages, and my mom and sister were really mad at me. They said I was being selfish and lazy. My sister even quit her job because I told her I'd leave again if she kept making me babysit. I definitely felt bad after. It feels like my whole family is barely talking to me except for my dad, and even he said I shouldn't have done that. Also, I love my niece. This isn't hate to her. She is adorable. A little edit for more info. I see my dad being brought up a bit, and he works in different places with steelwork, so he's very rarely home, but we do call often. My niece's father doesn't want anything to do with her, or my sister. It's been that way since she was pregnant anyway, so she left him and moved back in with us. She had a job before, but quit to take care of the baby when she was a newborn, and up until now, of course. Also, her and my mom work at the same place, so they're both night shift jobs, and they're tired when they come home from working, so I usually have to watch my niece a bit longer so they can rest when they get home, since they expect me to sleep while I'm babysitting. But I just can't. I'm so paranoid something could happen. Even when I'm feeding the baby and she coughs even a little, or if she's sleeping too hard, I panic. And honestly, I didn't even know daycare wasn't free until I read these comments. I thought maybe it was like a public school. Sorry. I mean, they are 14. Not to mention, it sounds like OP is about to be a textbook victim of parentification, and that's not good at all. That's actually a form of abuse. OP here is quite literally a child, and they're being forced to raise their niece. They don't have any time to relax, to enjoy their summer, to just be a kid, or to do anything that they would want to do. Instead, they're having to keep their eye on a child, which is extremely stressful, and they don't know anything about babies. And on top of that, they're an insomniac, so they're incredibly sleep deprived, which this is just adding up to be a recipe for a disaster or something happening down the line that's just going to be tragic. And the only person who would have any blame would be OP's mother and sister, not themselves. But they wouldn't see it that way. It would be entirely on OP. Any mistake that's made is going to be on them. My guess would also be is that OP's father doesn't fully understand what all is going on, and the fact that they're essentially being made to be responsible for an entire child. OP sneaking out to go to a friend's house, not to party, not to drink, not to do drugs, not to hang out or anything along those lines, but to fucking get a good night's sleep out of desperation tells me everything I need to know. And the fact that the sister's response was to then quit her job tells me everything I need to know. OP didn't cause her sister to lose her job. OP's sister made the choice that when they no longer had a reliable free babysitter, that they left their job. If the mom and sister work at the same goddamn place, here's a fun idea. Rather than putting the entire crux of it on your 14-year-old daughter, How about instead, you guys don't take the same goddamn shift, huh? Here's a little bit of a fun idea. How about instead someone takes mornings and someone takes nights? This way your 14-year-old daughter doesn't feel the anxiety and stress to be awake 24/7 to watch a baby. Because when you two both go out on the same shift at night and then come home exhausted after your shift, who's supposed to be watching the baby while you guys are getting sleep or recovering from your shifts, huh? Her. I hope OP's able to find a solution for this because this is just depressing. Technical Dentist 885. Am I the asshole for moving away and making my friend homeless and then ignoring her calls for help? I, 31 female, have this friend, 33 female, who's been living with me these past 3 years. She wasn't on the lease, nor did she pay rent, but she gave me money occasionally and would buy stuff for the apartment. In the beginning, she would help with cleaning, like doing dishes sometimes. She did have a habit of collecting useless junk, like used bike tires, for example, that would start piling up in my dining room, and she would get upset if I threw something away or moved it. We got in a few arguments over it, her reasoning being that these items was all she had, and that I wouldn't understand because I grew up privileged. So, of course, I didn't see what the big deal was throwing away these items. I still don't, to be honest. Anyways, after a while, I began to feel a lot of resentment towards her, and I felt she had started taking me for granted. I ended up moving. I told her I planned on moving 2 months prior, but she didn't seem to take me seriously, or maybe she assumed I was taking her with me. I don't know, but I moved, and because of that, she's now homeless. She's been calling me daily, saying she doesn't feel good and that she doesn't know what to do, and now she just sits in front of 7-Eleven doing nothing. I stopped answering her calls, and I feel bad, but I just don't want her living with me anymore. It's like she's completely dependent on others to come rescue her, and it's exhausting. Why do I feel like such a bad person? Should I help her, or is she just trying to manipulate me? Edit. Just wanted to add more info about my friend, as it may influence the overall opinion of her. She grew up in foster care and aged out at 18. She's had the same caseworker since who's helped her with housing in the past. She sees her caseworker about once every few months. Also, she has a high school diploma, and was a licensed massage therapist, but said she couldn't renew her license due to financial reasons and sorta just fell off, and hasn't been back up since. This was in 2015, 10 years ago. Okay, this situation does suck, but I don't think OP's the asshole. They allowed them to live rent-free for 3 years. That is plenty of time for someone to get back on their feet. And yes, it is unfortunate that they aged out of the foster system. It is unfortunate that they've had a string of bad luck almost every step of the way. But they are 33. They've had 15 years to find themselves back on their feet. They've had 15 years to figure out what direction to go. They had, at one point, a massage therapist license that they could definitely take full advantage of and get some pretty decent work. But they chose not to renew it. They chose not to get a job to get themselves in the financial position to renew that. Even if it's the not-so-fun choice of getting a part-time job in the service industry just so you can get some money to renew that massage therapist license. And then on top of that, they were given 2 months. 2 months time to figure out what they're going to do and where they're going to go. After having 3 years of living in a place rent-free. And I understand that they probably have a shit ton of PTSD and a bunch of other problems from coming from the foster care system. And life has not been good to them. But it is also not OP's responsibility to continue to allow them to live with them, rent-free, for an undisclosed period of time. I hope that they're able to get the help they need, but OP has already done more than enough to help them. Only Beautiful 4173. Am I the asshole for telling my 6-year-old nephew he's not special after he told me he can do and get what he wants because everyone calls him special? For context, he is the first and only grandchild so far, and probably will be the only grandchild unless my sister has more kids. Yes, he's an only child, and everyone spoils him rotten. I don't have much engagement with them since I live in a different state. I recently went to visit my family. One weekend I was supposed to go with my sister and my nephew to an indoor playground/arcade, but something came up on her end, so I offered to take my nephew since we did plan to make a day of it. She agreed, and overall, it was a lot of fun. He was fine the entire day, Did not fuss or anything. My mom asked if I could pick her order up from Target. It was in the area, so I said sure. Order was not ready, so we killed time walking around. Apparently, this was my grave mistake. I was unaware my sister gets him whatever he wants when he wants it. She does very well for herself. He showed me a Nerf gun he wanted. I commented and said that was cool. He did not ask for anything. And he still had it in his hand. I did not think much of it in the moment, since I did the same as a kid, and when it was time, I would leave it at the counter. Mom's order was done, went to pick it up, and he fully expected me to buy it. I told him I was not going to buy it, and maybe he could ask his mom for it next time. I offered to take a picture of it so he could show her exactly what he wanted. That is when he told me his mom would not mind. She always gets him what he wants because he's special, and special people get whatever they want. In this context, I kind of get it in hindsight from a kid's POV. No one really tells him no. I told him I was not everyone else, and I had no intention of buying anything at the store. He doubled down, started to fuss, telling me I had to listen to him because he was the kid, and he's special. That's when I told him he's no more special or unique to anyone else. He was still giving me a hard time. During that time, my mom called. I picked up. He shouted I would not buy him what he wants. My mom told me to stop being so cheap and buy it. I was starting to get embarrassed and very uncomfortable. I had no idea how to handle this situation, so I bought it. Because we were making a scene, and I don't have much experience with kids. When we got home, I explained the situation to my mom and my sister. They were not pleased. My sister told me she does not believe in telling a child no. They also were mad I did not reaffirm that he's not special because he should be the most special person to me. He's a gift and such. My sister struggled to have kids. Edit, sorry for the long post and typos on mobile and autocorrect me weird. I know in the end I caved though, which just reinforces the behavior anyways. A frustrating quick context before the next edit. Reddit is entirely focused on OP being the asshole because they caved. Edit. Okay, I do appreciate the feedback, and I do agree I should not have caved. That being said, I don't intend to be alone with him, but if I do, I will keep in mind all the other different ways to handle the situation in a more positive way. Also, I worded the title wrong. I did not directly say he was not special or unique. I said he is not any more special or unique than someone else. I also only told him that after he tried to use it as a reason for me to get him what he wanted after I said no. I caved due to the pressure I was feeling from everyone else around me, and I also did not want the rest of my vacation to be awkward. I know my sister very well. Had I not caved, she would have made that the focus, and I don't get to see my family very often. New York to Hawaii is not exactly a cheap or short flight. My family also rarely leaves the island, so yeah. Does not excuse my behavior, but I wanted to enjoy the rest of my vacation with family without taking jabs from my sister. Already get enough shit for what I do for a living from her and my parents. The Target order was for my mom, not my sister. But yes, my sister, who has money, does shop at Target. As mentioned, he was not in school when I was over, but school year is almost over, and maybe she kept him home since I don't visit often, and that was the first time I saw him since he was born. Though yes, my sister and husband 100% have the money to hire teachers or tutors to homeschool. I did not ask. I will show her the Bluey episode many have linked, doubt she'll watch it, but I will forward it, and I will forward this thread. Also, I have not asked her, how does she think this will play out when he's older? But I know my sister, and pretty sure she would just simply say people will love him, or she'll just get mad I dare to suggest he would become a rapist or a criminal. Ugh, I could just said social pariah, good god. I accept I'm an asshole here, not going to lie, shocked to see so many you're the assholes instead of everyone sucks here, but I get this post was about my actions, and not so much my sister's or mom's. Going to turn off notifications for now. Thanks again for the feedback and different ways I could have handled the situation. Have a good one, everyone! I'm gonna be honest, I would have accepted an everyone sucks here, but I'm more leaning for not the asshole. Like yeah, it sucks that she caved. But at the same time, sounds like their mother isn't fucking doing shit about any of this and just give their child everything they want on a silver platter because they're oh so special, so they get everything in the world. Like, OP isn't the parent. I'm kind of floored at all the you're the assholes in the comment because the mother of the child literally told OP, I don't believe in telling a kid no. And OP's the asshole because the kid was throwing a tantrum at a Target? Like, they're already getting an earful for even considering saying no, and telling them that they're just as special as everyone else. Can you imagine if OP did say no? The kind of fucking clusterfuck that they would come home to? Not good. This actually reminds me of one of the times that I was maybe 6, and my dad picked me up from school, and I wanted to go to Toys R Us. And my dad told me, okay, we can go to Toys R Us, but you'll have to get rid of every other toy in your room. Me, being the 6-year-old who didn't think he'd go through with it, said, sure, that sounds agreeable. So my dad drove us to Toys R Us. Opened the door, and that's when the gears turned in my head and I realized what mistake I had just made. Because unlike my mother, my father follows through. And my dad opened the truck door and said, all right, just remember, once we get this toy, we're going to give away everything else. Smash cut about 5 seconds later, and all of the parents walking into Toys R Us saw my father dealing with the only child in the world who was desperately trying to crawl back into the truck to not go to Toys R Us. Once my dad felt the lesson was properly learned, we went back home, and I felt very complacent and happy with all of the possessions I had. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.